Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, Silver here. It's normally the moment of truth where one sort of sit back and just wait for persons to come on, which is one of the most exciting bits, I must say. Let me see if I can do it. Here we go. Here we go. It's November the 6th, and all spotlight is on America, the midterm elections. That seems to be the big thing now. Yes, it is a big thing. Midterm elections, where all hands are on deck. Coming on to the end of it soon, and then life continues. Crazy. Life continues after. Who's gonna get a bloody nose? Well, I guess only Trump can get a bloody nose because guess what? He said it's a referendum on himself. So without a doubt, that's where the bloody nose is gonna be. Or is he gonna go against the flow? Because normally, most times, many times, what you have is the president in the office never do very well in the midterms. But what Donald Trump says is that things tend to go differently for him. So we don't know. So that's going to be a good one. That's going to be a very interesting one. But tonight, what we're talking about what is more relevant us here in the UK, and it's about knife and gun crime. It's about stuff which is directly at our feet, stuff which we cannot avoid, cannot seem to ignore. It may be to the detriment of us. Tonight I'm actually going to go live from Facebook. I'm going to go live from my YouTube page, which is SYLBOURNE TV. You can go on there and you can check it out. Either one. Tonight. Definitely. We just hope that at this moment while we're talking that there's no more bloodshed which takes place out there. It is what some would say it's a danger zone. It's a danger zone out there. But you know what? I believe that there are solutions. I believe that there are solutions at the same time. I believe that nothing is impossible, if you know what I'm saying. I believe that all things are possible. I believe that we don't have to wait for 10 years. I believe the mayor is talking about looking at 10 years' time before something can happen. I don't believe we have to wait for 10 years for that. But I believe without a doubt that we need to keep the focus. The focus must be kept. The focus must be, what should I say? Must be a focus on the solutions. There must be a focus in many ways in order to deal with this injustice. Right? And that's injustice in regards to the killing of young people. I consider it to a certain way a bit like it's some sort of suicide. Somebody may say, why suicide? Well, I say suicide because at the end of the day, um, if one is killing off themselves, then in a way it could be deemed as suicide. Just a thought. Think about that. Yeah. Please share this video as well. I was looking at the news today, and I received an email from the Victoria Derbyshire show. The Victoria Derbyshire show wants to do something on knife crime tomorrow. They want to do a 1 hour special. And the 1 hour special that they want to do is trying to find persons who are willing to come on and to talk. Message, hi SYLBOURNE, wonder if you can help us again. The BBC Victoria Derby show, we're doing an hour-long special program tomorrow on knife crime and what can be done to stop the violence. We really want to give families affected by knife crime the chance to tell their stories, pay tribute to their lost loved ones, and if necessary, appeal for information. Do you know of anyone who might be interested in appearing? Right? So that's from the Victoria Derbyshire show, wanting somehow to get some sort of information, right, about whole knife crime. I think when these things happen, many people they come back on board and they jump on the wagon, and somehow trying to see what they can do. A few months ago, when there was a level of different crimes which was happening with young people, the media took it on and everybody was talking about it. And there was a last program which recently took place, and that last program showed a gentleman, a young boy, who actually mother sent him to Jamaica. And by sending him to Jamaica to get him away from gangs, and then guess what? As a result of that, he came back and he died subsequently after. What the program did not do, the program did not give like solutions, like different things that can be done, how communities can help. And I find that is a key area which is lacking. Because guess what? When anyone say that there is knife and gun crime in the Black community, one can say that's an established fact. That is not something which is disputable. One can say the parents are having difficulties. One can say that's an established fact. That is not disputable. One can say the children are wearing their clothes all the way down to their bottom. One can say that's a fact. That is nothing that is disputable. One can say they hang out in gangs. One can say also that's a fact. There's nothing which is disputable. But what seems not to be happening, and this is what is not happening, what seems not to be happening is this: solutions, 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 right? Now, if you recall, we did a program the other day which was called the Solution-Oriented Summit. And from the Solution-Oriented Summit, came up with different ideas and different things that we can do. But one of the things that happens when you have these discussions, if one doesn't follow it through with different code and different action, then it somewhat fizzle out. And then when it fizzle out, then persons say one is not serious. It is all talk. I strongly believe that talk is very important. I strongly believe that we have to have talking no matter what we do. There must be talking. There must be communication. People must be, be able to interact. And what I like you to do as well, while you're on this, if you can share this video as well. I try to making these videos where people can like and people can share, and just to keep having that communication. I'm going to invite a gentleman at some point named Darren Lewis, and to talk about, because he lives close to the recent killing of the boy in Tulsa, right? But what I did also earlier today, I sort of picked up on some figures. There's an article which I always keep updating the whole thing. And if I start from October 26th, Martin Welsh, 47. Mr. Welsh was found fatally injured at a residential address in Hendon, northwest London, after police were called to reports of stabbing at 11:39. A woman who was known to be the victim has been charged with murder. Okay, so I'm starting from October, yeah, October 31st. All right, let's go back a bit. Let's go back a bit. Let's just go back a bit. Ian Tomlin, 46, was found this October the 17th, was found injured in Battersea after police were called to reports of multiple men fighting. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Two men have since been charged with his murder. October 22nd, Ethan Ned Bruce, 18, the teenager, was found with what appeared to be a stab injury after police were called to a street in Greenwich at 9:25 p.m. Post-examination later found the cause of death to be a gunshot wound. Young guy. Nazi Ali, 25, a 32, Nazi Ali, 25, a 32-year-old man has been charged with murder following the discovery of Miss Ali's body at an address in Bow. Police are not seeking anyone else in connection with her death. October 26, Martin Welsh, as I started, was found fatally injured, right, at a residential address in Hendon, northwest London, after police were called to reports of a stabbing. October 31st, Rocky Degel, 38, Mr. Degel, was found with stab injuries in Southwark Park just before 2 p.m. and died at the scene. Police are appealing for witnesses. November the 1st, J. Hughes, 15, the teenager was stabbed in a chicken shop in Bellingham, southeast London. His stabbing was described by police as an awful, premeditated attack. You may have seen the video which I had put out there on Facebook Live. I actually uploaded the video again and put a little editing to it, and you need to go onto the YouTube and actually check the video out because it's gonna grow, and some interesting comments which has been happening already. Even regarding the J. Hughes, I've seen a video which is out there just not so long ago, something lurking, and he mentioned something about some gangs or whatever like that. There's much more to what we're understanding. November the 2nd, Malcolm Madrilla, 17, teenager, was fatally knifed outside Clapham South Tube Station. Police say he was a college student from Peckham, southeast London, and may have been attacked after an early altercation between two groups of youth just yards from where he was knifed. November the 4th, unidentified man believed to be 22, police were called to a road in Alley, southeast London, at about 12:30 p.m. and found the victim suffering from stab injuries. He passed away a short while later. Inquiries are ongoing. November the 5th, unidentified man, 16, teenage victim, was found with what we believe to be stab injuries in Tulsa. It's just around the corner again. South London, shortly before 11 p.m. Despite the efforts of paramedics, he died a short while later. His next of kin have been informed. That's the latest one we know, November the 5th, which was yesterday. And touch wood, we hope none happen tomorrow. The question is this, and this is a question for everyone to answer. You know, what's the solution? And it sounds like a little rhetorical question in a way. Like it sounds like a question which one keeps saying each time and keep talking about it. They go through the period, they go through the seasons. The media, like I said, Victoria Derby Show want to do a special, and then it is just like going through the motion. And then by going through the motion, then guess what happens? It's like people's minds are sort of tired of hearing it, and it's not real, and it's not really coming home to them. So the big question is, what is the solution, right? And the reason why I keep bringing this back up is because you got different time, different persons come on board, but the community is a fundamental bit. So we're going to break down the whole aspect of the community, break down the whole aspect of the village. Sadiq Khan recently said, Sadiq Khan, what did he say? Sadiq Khan said it's going to take 10 years a generation in order to fix this. Now, before Sadiq Khan said that, I also said that it's going to take a while to fix this. And I said I agree with Sadiq. I'm not saying I agree with the way how he plans to do that, but I think it's going to take a while because it is very deep rooted, and the community have got to own it. Darren, if you're on, Darren, if you can actually say hello to me, and if you see a button saying invite yourself into the program, do press the button before we get into the whole bit of the solution bit and just talk about what happened last night in Tulsa. Let me see if you can get on. If you're on, if you just if you can get on, what you can do for me is to invite yourself, say hello, so I can actually see and I can pick it up. All right, Darren Lewis, if you're there, the community is crucial. The community is the key and the fabric of any nation. Community, right? Many persons today, even with their home or whatever like that, when they check it out, really good parents you may have, but those parents couldn't have done it just by themselves. It is by a community. Um, sorry, Darren, if you see, if you communicate with me by messenger or even on the page now, you can actually see a button, if you can, that says to invite you into the talk. Or otherwise, what you can do is to turn it, um, is to turn your phone. What should I say? You know, landscape, and then by doing landscape, then it is something that can work. I'm not seeing there's a there's something that actually tells me that I can invite you, and I'm not seeing that. Yeah, definitely. I'm not seeing that, Darren. Okay. So you've got to invite yourself in or turn your phone around or something like that. If you can message me in the messenger bit, and then we can see what is happening. If you're not seeing the option, or there could be something non-compatible with the phone. Yeah. The Okay, Silburn, you said last time that knife crime is a community issue, not a black issue. How many affiliated victim? Yeah. I can't recall ever saying that it is not a black issue. One can check all my record all the while. It's a community issue. And being a community issue, it's a community. The community may comprise of black, the community may comprise of Asian, Indian, white, whatever like that. It is a community, you got to hold it. Community is broken up in different parts. A community can go by a racial line. A community can go by a cultural line, right? So for the record, the community is point blank the geographical aspect, right? The geographical aspect is this, right? Yeah. Um, the okay, I see where you're coming from. No, it shouldn't be because, Darren, I can actually see persons who I can invite on to the show. It's not to do with the page. I can see where I can invite. Um, yeah, I can invite you on now. I just saw something. I sent you a link now saying that you're invited. So if you can see something to say that you're invited on, you know, you know, and there you are. I can see you. I can see you loud and clear. Is How are you doing? I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. I just want to deal with this bit here. Good evening, everyone. Silburn, you said the last time that knife crime issues are coming to issue and not a black issue. How many of the latest victims were other than blacks, please? Let's accept that the black community is failing and those parents who are not doing what they are supposed to do should sit up. Now, I will not accept that the black community is failing because, for the record, The majority of young children are doing well. The majority of parents are doing well. If we're going to say the black community is failing, we're going to have to accept that all is failing. So I'm not going to accept the fact that the black community is failing because of a percentage of youth. Because when you check the wide and breadth of this, the UK, as I always say, I always have to qualify this, that the majority of black children out there are doing fantastic and they're doing well. Rach AK, good evening. Good evening, Stephen. Darren Lewis, how are you, buddy?
Me, I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
You know, well,
That's okay.
well, the reason why I invited you on was because I saw your Facebook Live earlier because you live in the same estate where the young guy just recently got stabbed last night.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Fulfil estate. Yeah.
Yeah. But the question, we don't know if it was stabbed or was he killed. Sorry, not. We don't know if he was stabbed or was he shot. Do you know that?
They confirmed he was stabbed. They thought originally there was a shooting. I think it was a report of a shooting.
Yes.
But they said they found no gunshot wounds. He was stabbed. So yes, I'm not sure. It could have been a mix up because there's a lot of fireworks going on.
Yeah.
Last night.
Yeah.
So somebody might have pulled in and thought it was a gunshot or something. Maybe I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
it was definitely stabbed.
Darren, what is your thoughts in regards to? We spoke earlier and we established certain facts are there, which is established already that it's knife crime, this and blah blah blah. Solutions. What do you see as a solution, or what do you see as a cause, if anything, from your perspective?
Cause. Well, there's lots of different reasons. I mean, I can't keep up with the numbers. I made the video earlier and I said 117, and when I checked when I got home, it's actually 119.
Yes.
So I can't even keep up. But I mean, out of the 119, there's a mixture of different reasons. Some of them are youth. Some of them are teenagers. Some of them are gang related. Some of them are not gang related. So there's quite a wide range of reasons, but especially with the youth and in our community, gangs, I believe, is a major issue.
Yes.
A lot of the murders that are happening are gang turf wars per se, drug wars and so on. So I think that's a major issue. I mean, I live in this estate and there are at least one murder here. I was just speaking to my wife. At least one a year is either shooting or stabbing. And there are a lot of young kids selling drugs in this estate. I walk past people selling drugs, hard drugs, you know, and I mean young kids who are no more than 16, 17 years old.
Yes.
So definitely that's a big issue, I believe, is the drugs business behind a lot of these killings, I think, anyway.
So what do you okay, we're talking about like the community because where do you see the solution lies?
With our community, I think we and when I say community, I'm going to be very more specific to Black people. Okay, I'm just gonna be that's what I'm speaking about. Black people as our communities, we have to take control of our communities. We cannot no longer just walk past this stuff and ignore it like it's not our business, because eventually, you know, pray not, it may come home to some of us, you know, and if we're just kind of seeing it as it's not affecting my child, you know, whatever, or it's not affecting me, it can affect you tomorrow. Yeah. So we have to look at it and see that this issue is something that I have a child on the way, you know, like in 2 months' time. Yes. And I don't want my child to grow up in an environment where, you know, God forbid, in 15 years' time, if we carry on with this trend, where is the community going to be at this time, you know? So we have to definitely, we have to engage firstly, I would say, I've championed this a lot. Firstly, we have to start at home. So our individual children, to making sure that we are parenting to the best of our abilities for our own children first before we even look at anybody else's. What responsibilities are we taking care of at home? For instance, right now, all what's going on, every child in this estate should be at home right now.
Yeah.
When I went out earlier, the amount of young kids I saw on the street, I was shocked that immediately after this, there's still kids everywhere outside, and it's dark.
And tomorrow is also school as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's not like it's a Friday night.
Why are the kids outside right now? So that's the first thing. Is the first step, I would say, as individual parents, we have to make sure that we are doing our best with our own children first and foremost, and to make sure our homes and our children are being raised well. And that is a community effort as well, broader family effort as well, supporting families. Sometimes there's a lot of families, particularly single mothers, who are maybe on their own, and they are just the one alone having to manage working. People are telling me, the parents have to do long hours and work to support the child and all these different things. Then they need to be supported by other family members who can say, after school, let them come around and stay with me while you are at work, so they're not just at home, so they can go out anywhere they want and all this stuff. I grew up in the Caribbean, and I had cousins who, after school, they came to our home after school because until their parents came back from work. You see what I'm saying? And I feel some of the kids are at home alone, the parents are at work, so they have free reign. They're out on the streets, and they get themselves into problems. They get themselves caught up with the wrong people. They get themselves in things that don't concern them. Some of them. And some of them just become casualties of that.
All right. Let's take a pin on this point here and dissect this one down. Joyce has said it. Lorna has said it. Stephen has just said it a while ago. The point is about why are these children now on the street at this time? Why? Why are the parents allowing children to be on the street at this time? And they're not just 15 and 16 and 17. They are 12 and 13. Why? That's a big question. Why are these children out there? Now, it is mentioned that the other parents or the single parents, they're out and they're working. So therefore, the children are having a free reign. So should there be a call then for a curfew?
Yeah, someone mentioned that today.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I had a conversation with someone about this. It got quite heated because I made a Facebook post saying that, people are calling for us and we can't call for a curfew.
Yes.
But some of the parents are not having curfews on their own children. So, in one part, I would say, well, if we believe that that is a solution, then as parents, we're supposed to put a curfew on our child immediately in this time. Because to me personally, it's getting to a stage where it's like an emergency almost, So the first thing is parents revise the liberty you are giving your children right now and say, you know what, at this time it's very dangerous out there. Come from school, you come home, we find things to do. You can't be running out, playing outside in this state at this time. That's the first thing I would say. Now, with a curfew, I wouldn't say no to the curfew. But again, in this conversation we were having, the thing is, well, let's say if there is a curfew and a child is found outside, then what is the repercussions of that? So I personally would lean towards the parents would have to have the repercussion for that.
Okay, right.
Because that's your incentive to make sure your children are inside.
Well, what is the established fact? And this is where we have to now recognize this, is that the parents are not hacking it. The parents who are supposed to be who as PR, as Joyce said, parents are responsible for these children, are not exercising it. So therefore, I hear what you say that the parents should really have curfew on their children, but they are not. That's the problem.
Right.
That's so therefore
Yeah.
let's accept the fact then now that the parents are not actually exercising the PR and they are not taking care of the children. What do
Yeah.
we do now? I mean, I think if there's something which is of a crisis proportion, then you have to have crisis proportion reaction to it. And therefore a curfew could serve its purpose in the fact that, okay, let's look at it this way then. In a community where there's an estate or whatever like that, maybe getting police or those whatever police support officers or whatever like that to now start doing the beat in these particular areas, and actually to ensure that the street is clear unless the children eventually will go towards some sort of hub place. and
Yeah.
and and I don't know. There's got to be some. Let me read what they talk. Let me read what people are saying here. Um, no, say what you're saying. But you heard what I said right there. The
Yeah.
parents are not hacking it, so we can't expect the parents to do the curfew unless the state is going to charge a parent, just like when you take your child out of school without
Yeah.
permission, and they're going to charge them. They're going to charge
Yeah.
poor people who don't have money again.
Yeah, that's the other problem now because the people are saying this is people don't have the money to be fighting these things. Sometimes, as you said, some of the children or the parents where they literally cope with these children, they're going to be fined left, right, and center because they cannot keep this boisterous child in the house. So that is itself is problematic. But with the policing, for instance, I personally believe that obviously there's an argument there's not enough police on the streets, and I'm thinking like more police on the streets personally I don't think is going to stop these things from happening. Yeah, I think it's way beyond that, this particular issue. And also there are police patrolling these areas. This estate where I live in, they are very often the police are coming through here.
Yeah.
Just this afternoon the police arrested some children outside, some kids outside, or whatever they were doing, just outside this afternoon. So it happens all the time. I'm always seeing blue lights. The police are always driving through the estate, and because people are calling the police because kids are doing this or kids are doing this. Just last week, my wife called me, distressed because the kids were doing the fireworks. They were opening the letterboxes to fire the fireworks into people's homes. And she heard the letterbox go, and she was worried. She called me. I had to come down. Her brother to come down. Because these kids are terrorizing the people in the area, and the police you call the police, they come down. The kids are gone by then. They go. They come back. They go. They come back. They go. It doesn't solve anything.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's the holding position or the holding issue, or what can really stop it is for the parents to actually exercise their PR, because all these children, Jay, the guy that got killed, the 16, well, the one in your area, based on what I was reading, apparently the mother, she went to pick him up from that estate from where, and I think maybe there's been some issue regarding him and some boys or whatever like that, and she said he shouldn't have gone there. So therefore it's difficult. Maybe, I mean, he was with maybe at a house, and she was just going to pick up her son from a house. So it's not as if, and we don't know the backstory because most time, I mean, Stephen Atkinson is a barrister who's online now, and he will share many stories that when we see these nice kids and lovely pictures, when they go to court, God bless their soul and that they have died, but there are lots of issues which is in the back, even with the guy named Jay, things which are coming out now, which I'm not privy to say, in the background regarding gangs in Grove Park, gangs in Bellingham, and all those sort of things, But as Joy said, how can a child get wayward? And this is where you and I, as fathers, you got a young child, I've got a young son who's 11, and they have to start being nurtured from early. And that's the reason why I said what Sadiq Khan is saying, that it will take years in order to do it, because you've got to actually, the community will have to somewhat get into the process of taking that responsibility and start to nurture the child from early. Because, as someone said, it's a waste of time for the police because the police are just coming in just to put a band-aid in and moving on.
Yeah, well, they just come in to collect bodies, you know. Police cannot stop anyone from being stabbed unless you expect there to be a police on every single corner on every alleyway. You know, it's just not it's not really going to solve the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is much further deeper rooted than having more police on the street. If it was anything, I'd call for more medical services. You know, because in unless anything changes, you're only dealing with the aftermath of these things.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, Rachel Errol said, "If do we believe in statistics? We are concentrating on young people, but 73 stabbings. Let me just do a little random, even a random thing here, because on a random it says, let's look at some people who have been killed. September. Okay, let me just do a little run here, as Rachel said. Sharon Sorrell, 22. Abdi Ali, 18. Celia Levitt, 36. Ismail Tagaru, 22. Menito Warne, 46. Ali Alhar, 25. Mr. Ramaton, 76. Elon Poco, 20. Gil Farah, 19. Sandra Ziman, 30s. Abdallah, 22. Melly, 23. Tomlin, these are I used from September, 46. Bruce, 18. Martin Welsh, 47. Nazi Ali, the lady, 25. Ricky Degel, 38. November the 1st, they all got younger. All of a sudden in November, J.U.'s 15. Malcolm, 17. Unidentified man believed to be 22. And the unidentified man, 16. November the 5th. Right?
Yeah.
So what we're seeing here now is to really make sure that we're actually not over sensationalized at the same time, you know, and really get because every one child that dies or every person that dies is a child who has died.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I believe if I'm correct, it's somewhere in the region of 20 something like teenage and under. I think 20s. Yeah. 20s or something like that. But for me, it's far too many.
It is far too many.
That's one every 2 weeks.
It is far too many, and
still too many.
And in a way, to lays with the Rachel point about those who have died. Those who have died is not just the issue. The issue is the fact that we got lots of young children who are out there.
Yeah, and we also have lots of stabbings. A lot of stabbings.
Yes.
There's many who are not dying.
Yes.
But the majority are not dying. But
yes.
There are a lot of stabbings happening in London every day.
Yes.
You know, within the teenagers as well. So, you know, I mean, my godson got stabbed recently. You know, he's from northwest London. So it's these people are being stabbed, and also the kids are carrying knives. So there's so much knives on the street. I did a video a few months back on YouTube about, you know, do Black lives really matter to us? And I in the video I showed a few music videos that the kids are watching now, and it's the music videos, they are flashing all the knives in the music videos now. So this is this culture where young people is having knives and having the biggest knives, you know, Rambo knives and all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
So, you know, if this doesn't change, these more kids are going to be killed. You know, more kids are going to be stabbed.
And you're right, because it will seem to be the normal thing to do eventually, which is to them it is deemed normal. Now, Rachel made the point a while ago. I believe community policing is a way forward when the community start taking responsibility for own and each other. Then things will change. Now, let's deal with this community thing. Let's look at an area. How can an area or an estate be protected by the people? You know, is in your community, for argument's sake, is there a neighborhood watch program?
I don't think in my state there is one, no.
Right.
So
You know,
that,
I'm a firm believer in neighborhood watch, and this is something that I always talk about. I always talk about the fact that if neighbors starting to get to know neighbors, and neighbors getting to know their children, whatever like that, when children are sometimes maybe attacked or whatever like that, this is not actually maybe solving the bigger problem, but what we're trying to do now, it's a parallel process now. It's about dealing with those who are young and are growing up and making sure that they're nurtured properly and trying to capture those who we think are getting away, right? Because we cannot say we give up on
yeah,
the 15 or the 16. So we got to put in some damage limitation program in place now to try to save lives, right? And therefore the police, the neighborhood police is good, but I believe one of the fundamental ways is whereby when you're a child or when I'm a child, I recall that every single person had a part to play, and this is where the village need to be resurrected. But the village cannot be resurrected until the people somewhat are maybe inspired to believe that there's a reason to do this. And this is where we need voices, leaders' voices. The government, Sadi can listen. I believe that the mayor may not can save lives, but from the office to promote voices that can actually speak into issues to say, parents, you need to take responsibility, right? If you're finding yourself short in delivering your exercising your PR and you need help, you can get training. You know,
right.
neighborhood watch program in areas. What they should have now, like in communities where there are hubs where they used to have a community center. I think the same neighbors, the same community should not wait for funding, but should start put £5 a week to sort of help to bring in somebody to speak to the young people, to speak to even parents.
Yeah,
What do you think about that? What do people think about that?
yeah, I agree that for me, I've always been saying that these issues are community issues, and the most the most we're going to see as far as resolving these issues are going to be from within the communities themselves. I mean, I give it an example. I mean, like, again, I'm talking from the black perspective.
Yeah.
We all know, or most of us will probably know, that we hear in the black community a lot that we don't snitch.
Yeah.
Okay? Something we've all heard this before. We don't snitch because we have this and this enmity between, well, we believe there's some enmity between black people and the police. Okay?
Yes.
And yet, historically, there has been that. Okay? I haven't been grown up in a generation where I could be brutalized by a police officer in the UK, but my parents were in that generation. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but we have moved forward from this, and this is the thing: is black people have to realize we have progressed in society, and there's certain things that used to happen. Yes, they maybe still happen in the fringes here and there, but as a whole, these things don't happen anymore because things have been put in place, things have changed, people's mindsets have changed, society has changed. So what maybe have been a threat at one time is not what your threat is now. Your threat changes.
Yes.
So when you look at it statistically, am I more likely to die at the hand of a police officer or another black person? Statistically, I'm many more times likely to die at the hands of a black person. So my mind shift changes with my relations between the police.
Yes.
You see, so if we don't change this mentality of, oh, the police are our enemy, we must not snitch.
Yeah.
We are the ones that's going to be hurt in our communities, because when the drug dealers open up their drug houses within your estates and your communities, your children are the ones they're roping in to sell the drugs.
Yes.
Your children are the ones who end up being stabbed and killed because of turf wars and drugs.
Yes.
Because we thought the police was our enemy, but really your enemy is, regardless of the color, whether it's black, white, Asian, whatever, but it's the drug dealer is your enemy in your community, not the police officer. Because when your child gets stabbed, the drug dealer is nowhere to be found. The police officer is the one who comes to respond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the medics that come to respond. So we have to change a lot of things in our community as Black people, as far as our mindsets.
Yes.
Of who our enemies are. I'll give you a short, quick story. A few months ago, we had Black. It was before, I think, beginning of Black History Month.
Yes.
At the reparations march, which ended in Windrush Square, just around the corner of Brixton. So I went to I was at work that day. On my way home, I saw the march. The people congregated at Windrush Square. They had a stage, they had a little concert, and lots of different things going on. So I said, "Oh, let me go down there and check out what the vibe is and all this." So there was a guy who was on the stage performing, and he was rapping, and he was saying, there was a police sign, a police car drove by. Okay, the sirens and so on. And as he was rapping, he was saying, he started, dissing the police officers and saying, basically saying the police are enemies and all these different things while the police was driving by, And when I got home that day, I found out that in Peckham there was a stabbing, and I was thinking about it, and when I looked at the timeline, I believe that police officer was on the way to that stabbing, because it literally happened about the time when I was at the Windrush Square, and this was one of these rappers, a popular rapper, got stabbed that day and killed actually. And I was thinking to myself, how ironic someone is saying, there's our enemies, when that person was responding to one of your own people who had been killed by another Black person.
Yes.
You see what I mean? And that just made me think even more about it, that we have to get rid of this foolish mentality that says our enemy is the one who is risking their lives actually to defend your children. Yeah. To save your children. And whenever the police are quote unquote harassing the children. We had it again in the estate here the other day. Ladies coming out and abusing the police. We saw a recent video of the people abusing the police again with a lady, and they found out actually she had a knife. You mean that's
the one in the rubbish bin where she threw the knife in the rubbish bin or something like that?
That's right, in Harleston. And our first reaction is the police are the enemies. The police are racist. When really that woman could have killed somebody that day. And
then it's the police who would be coming out there trying to.
They are not doing enough. We don't have enough police. The police are not doing their job. Sadiq Khan is not doing his job, but they are out there trying to do the job and to keep the public safe. And all we do is attack them all the time. Do you understand? So for me, that's a big part. And I'm not saying all the police are perfect, but we have to change this mentality, because it goes as far as blacks are a problem even if they want to go in the police. And I'm looking forward to this because I've actually applied to be a special constable.
Yes.
Okay? I haven't told anybody this, but I've applied to be a special constable, which is a voluntary police officer.
Yes.
Okay? And I'm very interested in how people are going to react to me as a black person.
That is commendable. I mean, wanting to do something like that, because what you're doing, you're putting yourself out there to be a part of the solution, Darren, and that must be encouraged. You're saying
and within my local community, which is where I want to be, where I've applied for to be a black face in my community. Because for us to say the police are institutionally racist, the police hate black people, the police do this, then get involved, be a black face in the police in your community, so that young other black people can see, oh, he looks like me, and not feel aggravated all the time by the face of the police. So you have to be involved. You have to be a part of the solution.
You're right about that, and that's a community spirit at work. But let's go back to the bit which I just pinged. I just pinned something up there saying the police, people would give information, but they'll be classed as informers with the whole snitching thing, you know.
Mm.
And I mean, Britain is much different from like Jamaica, where Jamaica might not have a very strong and don't have the resources to put people in witness program or whatever like that and put them away. I don't know about it here, but I believe that the police need to, if they are not, or if they're not doing it well, need to step up on this whole aspect when it comes on to giving to like Crime Stoppers, because there's anonymous numbers that people can give, which
Yes,
is,
of course,
you know,
of course.
but as in anything in any court of law, when somebody's going to be deprived of their liberty, um, the call will be coming eventually to say you've got to give evidence, and of course they can give evidence behind cameras and hidden. But I believe
Yeah,
this snitch mentality will have to somewhat be curbed. And you know, Darren, one of the things about leadership and about heroes like yourself is that a hero goes to the front line, not caring for himself, but caring for even that one person, you know, and he's going there to make a difference. That hero, during the process of him doing his job without thinking for himself, may die as a result. And I believe that in a way that black men, role models, will maybe need to start to going out. I know guys are doing this. I mean, I've got a list of organizations who are actually out there doing different projects, talking to young guys or whatever like that. But Bellingham, when I was in Bellingham, and there were a few guys were on the wall, and they didn't want to go on camera, but I didn't have the camera with them, with me that time. And I said, "Would you like to talk?" And just, what's your name? And you could see they were like, they're not rude, but they say, "No, boss." Now, of course, I wouldn't expect them to just open up to a strange man, 'cause that could be a couple undercover, you know what I'm saying, if anything.
yeah,
But then I recognize that, and I was speaking to a colleague of mine, and he's online here now, to say that we may need to find a way to go back down there again and to speak more to these boys. We were fortunate to meet a guy who was a friend of the guy who died, and he was
right,
also a friend of the guy who actually died in Clapham South. you know,
yeah,
and I got his number. And we
yeah,
met a community leader there who is saying he doesn't want to be on camera, but he will link me and we can talk. And I believe that that is going to be one of the way forward, that as black men that we'll have to do it. We cannot leave it now to the organizations which are already in existence. We have got to do it for the close proximity of the young boys them which are close to us.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. I agree, 100%, 100%. I mean, I could just think of things I've managed to achieve. Just small things within my look. I mean, now I live in South London. I'm not originally from here, but I used to live in Wembley, and I remember just doing stuff with the kids on my actual road. Okay, there used to be a lot of kids hanging out at this particular boy's house. They were always there, and they would rob the pizza guys. These were young kids. They were still in high school, so they were like 15 around that age, and I remember one day I used to have a moped, those little scooter things.
Yes.
And one of them tried to rob it from my house.
Yes.
And so I got in a confrontation with them. And then I did something just made me feel bad, And I just thought, so I rode down the road to look for these kids, and they were as there. And I just literally started a conversation with them. And, I was just amazed at what I was finding out about them. They didn't have any role models, obviously. They had no ambitions. They had no directions. They had no fathers, most of them. They had no positive male energy around these young boys. And I just started to take some of them on jobs with me. And I just befriended them. I ran a small little program that I put up for them, teach them graphic design and so on and all this stuff like that. And I remember once I was driving one day, and this is years later, And one of them, I saw him and he was tapping my window on my car. I didn't even recognize him because he's maybe 20 now or something. And so he jumped in the car and he was working for Network Rail.
Yes.
And he was telling me how, all the things you did for us, and when we were young, we didn't understand, but I thank you for what you did for us, and all these things, these little things. And I was just like, it's just literally just engaging with young kids on my particular street. If we are all doing this, okay, reaching out to a few of the young boys and girls or whatever in your area, some of the women mentor some of the young girls, just reach out to them, befriend them, take them out with what you're doing, and just things for them to do, etc., etc. These small little things are what sets their course on their life.
Yes.
Because they don't have nothing to do. We say there's no youth centers, okay? But so there's nothing for them to do. Okay, I didn't have a youth center. This is when I grew up, But if they haven't got things to do, let's find things for them to do.
Yes.
You don't have to wait for the government to build buildings for them and the government to pay for people to do things with them. We can do these things with the youth, whether it's nieces or neighbors or whatever. We can do those things ourselves.
So
waiting for the government.
So what you're saying is that the community needs to be more strategically organized.
Yes.
In order to take care of its own.
Definitely. Yeah, we don't need me. I'm not an anti-establishment person, but I've always think I can look after myself. I don't need the government, and I don't think we need the government to do these things. Yes, the help is there if we need support or so on, but we should be able to do things without. If the government doesn't do it, we're supposed to be able to do it. There's enough of us. I mean, Lambeth alone, I think it's 70,000 black people in Lambeth. So why do we need the government to do this and to do this? There's enough of us to do it.
Yeah.
Ourselves,
I hear what you're saying. All the comments in a post earlier today says mentoring is a positive preventive way of curbing crime and ensuring the success of our young people, reducing the distressing need for difficult interventions. And this is very powerful here. The key word in this is reducing the distressing need for difficult interventions. And what we're seeing happening a lot is whereby there are disputes, and how can one deal with the disputes with these young people? Because every day, don't get me wrong, every day, adults are all over social media cussing each other out. Based on one's political persuasion or whatever like that. Fortunately, they are not maybe going out and killing each other, but the children now, without that clear way, as what Audie said, they don't have that clear way of dealing with these difficult issues in the early stage of their life. They need that, and that is where the guidance comes from us. So what we discussed earlier, we talked about the curfew. The curfew needs to be a fundamental issue, because if you are saying that the parents need to be curfewed and they are not doing that job by curfewing their children, then that means to say you got to have external forces or external sources in order to do that. Many people will say, well, there's a disadvantage to that because they will now start to take this opportunity to racialize these kids then, if anything. And of course, that's now another recipe of disaster. Social service come into the play and all those sort of things. We talk about the community. One of the things that I talk about as well, and I believe this is a key area, is what you mentioned about the community taking control of their space, their leisure center, the churches. Listen, I think this is a powerful one. The churches up and down this country have lots of empty building during the course of the week. Right? And I believe that the churches will have to find ways to now have these training programs. Right? I believe these training programs are something which is definitely needed, So Darren, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Any last word?
Um, I mean, I would just again encourage. I mean, I'm sure there's parents on here. I would just encourage. Let's be proactive, even at this moment, until things maybe start to improve. Let's impose these curfews on our own children. You know what I mean? Let's reevaluate what we're doing and just Christmas is coming. We all want to see Christmas. You know what I mean? We all want to see 2019. So let's really kind of just be. If you have to be a bit more tough on your kids, you know what I mean, they'll survive. We all had it tough. I mean, I grew up 17, 18, and I still had to ask my mom, can I go out? You know what I mean? And she said no. It's no, you go back in your room. I can't go out because their house. So just it's your child's life. It's not good out here right now, man.
Well, a good point that Rachel, you and I can leave on is whereby they said there are lots of community organizations already doing great work out there, and we should be helping to resource them so much. And that is something which I embarked on, whereby I've had 100 black men on already. I've got my good guy Yisrael Emmanuel from the peace treaty. I've had Andrix from Manhood to Academy. And I'm going to be getting on womanhood to womanhood as well, and also Paula Perry, looking at how young people can be very resourceful from early days. So, without a doubt, there are lots of organizations out there, but I've got to say this: something is not happening, though. Something is not clicking.
Yeah. We need more soldiers. I say we need more. There's lots more. There are, as Rachel said, definitely. I know people. They are doing amazing work. As I said, I gave the example what I did in my little street. If 100 of the people were doing that in the street, that's 500 kids. That's lives are being touched. So we need lots more people to commit. I don't know how I'm going to do this police thing because I have to give voluntary time. I'm such a busy person already. I'm just like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I have to give it minimum 4 hours a week. If I do one evening a week, I will do it, So we all have to do something, give a little time, sacrifice something for your community, And if we're all just doing some small bit, then it all adds up, So
And that is correct. What you say is that everybody, it's going to be a sacrifice, a labor of love at this time, and the right action is not wanting to take your children away out of, because of course many people say, I want to take my child away from this and going to some Staffordshire bushes, all the way in the sticks whereby you only can play with the horses and the dogs, what I mean? But that doesn't help in the long run. And what we're talking about is the short run. There are many comments here, which you can pick up back on later, and especially regarding the fact of the whole negative, the whole aspect of, is it when things happen we all get proactive? But the reason why I started even the solution-oriented summit, and I'm going to be reposting these videos because we got Stephen Akinsanya. He's talking about what happens when they go to court. We have Cherry Johnson talking about the county lines on social media. We got Yisrael Emmanuel talking about the Peace Code Treaty. We've got Stephen Gislaine talking about being strategic. We've got Charles Kieran talking about what it is to be a man, what is it to be a father. So therefore, what I envisage and what I would like to see is whereby churches, buildings up and down the country somehow strategically positioned to now creating these hubs of training. Not talking about what's happening, but you know what is happening, so you're now dealing with the training, dealing with the education. That is something that I'm committed to, and I'm glad that you are going into police force. And I'll link you with a person who was a previous police officer. Maybe you can get to talk to her. She was a private one as well, And as Stephen said a while ago, Stephen and I is working closely on something. We should start a roadshow. and get out there. And
Yeah.
and normally sometimes when these things happen, you know what happened when these things happen? You
Yeah.
shame the government that they have to act.
100%. That's exactly what I'm
Yeah.
about.
Shame
100%.
shame the government that they have to act.
As soon as we start to do it,
Yes.
all the resources come now
Yes.
because they want to be seen to be the ones that's doing it.
Yes.
So as long as you start it, all the rest will come
Yes.
after.
Yes. Well, Darren, well, thank you so much for that. And I guess you'll be maybe staying up watching to see what the outcome of the US election is. I've not mentioned it. Don't want to get
Yeah, yes.
confused.
I will. Yeah, I will. Interesting times, eh?
Yeah. Okay,
Yes,
then.
yeah, well, thanks for having me, Silver.
No problem, sir. Okay.
All right, you
God
take care.
bless. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
Darren.
bye-bye. Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Darren Lewis. I just spoke to him first time for today. We've been talking a lot on YouTube, sorry, on Facebook, and just discussing different issues. And I believe one of the things which is so crucial at times is that we need to reach out to different persons. We need to take up the phone and call. Most of the people that I meet are sometimes on my friend list, which are 5,000, and on the other one 6,000 and 12,000 there, blah blah blah. I sometimes try to make some level of interaction, because by making some level of interaction, you get to know people, you get to talk to people, and get to understand how things can work together, how things can gel. Now, so I, one of the dangers sometimes of all of these discussions is that it happens and then it goes. And as Stephen Atkinson has said, we need to start to do a roadshow. We need to start to pool resources with the other groups which are doing things. Find out what they're doing, so therefore one is not reinventing the wheel. The only thing that I believe which is crucial and what needs to happen as much as possible is we all take ownership of this. Yes, our children might be doing great and fantastic in school and they're going on, but somehow we have to take responsibility for the ones who are not doing well. We've got to take responsibility for the mother who has learning difficulty, the mother who is not able to exercise her PR, because guess what? The benefit system is not helping her, so she's got to go to work. You know, somehow makes you wonder if the children sometimes feel so guilty and that the parents are not doing well, that they challenge themselves that they want to help their parents. And then by wanting to help their parents, they find a way out. And that is through illegal activities, through counterlines and all those sort of things. Right? Children now are so smart. Children now are so, so witty now with social media, Snapchat, all these different games. They're awesome. Their minds are very quick, but at the same time, they're very impressionable. And by being very impressionable, that they need that nurturing, the parents is not doing it very well. We all established that. Many things, many facts are established, right? And and as a result of that, it seems very clear that yes, without a doubt, we are failing, right? If we're not failing, then we are doing well. And if we're doing well, then why is this happening? And I believe that in any druggist or any alcoholic or any person who has any major problem that need help, they first have to put their hands up and say, I do have a problem, right? And then by saying I do have a problem, then guess what? Then that is how help can come to them. But then help cannot come to them unless the help and the facilities are out there. And this is where the community comes into play. Role models, mentorship is so crucial. I just got a petition today about the CEO, a Black man for Lewisham, that there's some fight or some struggle there regarding his position there, if anything like that, right? And I'm going to have to look into it, because we need Black men who are in good position to be in those positions that our young men can also see, because they're looking up at the same time. They're looking up at me, they're looking at others, they're looking up at Darren, they're looking at Stephen. And therefore, the responsibility for us is to actually go out there and to actually reach out to them. Because the fact is, there are many homes without fathers. There are many homes also without mothers. There are many children without homes. They're in the care system, right? And by being by in the care system, they're subject to many different distractions, and they're also enticed as well, you know. So I'm just wanting to just keep the presence on this particular topic. And you know, I know Sadiq Khan said something a day. As far as I'm concerned, I've drawn a conclusion as well that Sadiq Khan is a failure when it comes on to this with London, because as far as I'm concerned, he's more focused on Brexit and issues which, you see, I believe, and Stephen and I was talking about this before, that a mayor with the political power and knowledge which is there need to bring in all those guys who are out there doing great things. Lots of guys that I know are doing great things. And to bring a sort of hub to say, right, these are the hotspots: Tottenham, Lewisham, Peckham, whatever like that. Threw some resources into these areas. You're not throwing money at it, but you're throwing strategic training, strategic program. A lot of these guys who has been there before, they know how to reach back to these guys. I may not, right? Because there's about the street. I want to have an understanding of the street. But at the same time, as being a father, and any man out there being a father, you have a sense of responsibility for your neighborhood, for your kingdom. You know what I mean? As the guy who died recently in my neighborhood, whereby he killed the burglar, we said a man's home is his castle. And then I added to that, and his neighborhood is his kingdom. So therefore, the places like these estate agents, they should be like a kingdom, whereby men take responsibility. Take responsibility for the zone. The Black Panther movement, 8 years ago, they patrolled. They ensured that things happen. I'm not saying they called for a Black Panther movement, but I'm calling for a movement, just like what Stephen says, a roadshow, talking about gardening your areas, your street, your structures. And I tell you this, you would be surprised, and you may be surprised, that a lot of the young men seeing that will say, what going, cool. And they'll be inspired. Don't be surprised. They'll be inspired by that. So ladies and gentlemen, that's what I want to say. And I just look at some of these comments on Rachel is saying it doesn't have to come from that same community. That is help. Of course, we need to interact. So therefore, it's not like a postcode link thing. Education is key. Um, you know, if a group from the N10 want to come and patrol S9 and the community allow this, it could still work. London Met do not care. Sorry, unless we are going to step up, don't bother to look other people to step up for you. You know, I agree. Darren was speaking to my son about this earlier. There's a hardline snitching, no policy with the younger generation. And what I understand from the snitching bit is this, that even if they're from different gangs or whatever like that, they still won't snitch. They will still protect that code. Powerful. Now that is some level of loyalty. That loyalty needs to be transferred into how people deal with certain people. That level of loyalty, right? Um, well done. We need more black people with the police force. That is Darren thinking about going in the police force, which is good. The increase in numbers are not actually with young black children. The increase is actually adults, former lovers. So there's somebody saying, right? So we got to actually really look at this thing. It is that which stops people being convicted. All the comments, right? Mentoring it there. Yep. Natalie Simpson Grant, as taxpayers, there's a question of representation. Tax being taken means that access to service should be harnessed. It needs strategic harnessing. That is correct. Therefore, the government have a responsibility while people are paying their tax. That is why the census is also important, so they know who is in the area as well, right? Social services also failing, right? Everybody's being stretched, you know? Wow. You know? The only intervention are taking place when negative incidents take place, right? Okay. Also, let's think about the children that are behaving. What's for them? Let's ensure that they are not left behind, whilst focus is sent only on women. That is crucial again. The focus on the children who are not doing well. But what about the children who are doing well? to ensure they are not left behind, that they are also encouraged, right? And definitely, we do not have 10 years. That's the final bit. We do not have 10 years. So, solution oriented summit and keeping the focus on, definitely what we want to do is to make sure that without a doubt that we think about ways how we can contribute, speak to your churches, organizations, think about what skill set you have. How can you give back to the community? How can you say, okay, I own it. What can I do? It's not just boys only, it's also girls. Because the girls are also in partnership with the boys in with the tools, with the knife and all those sort of things. They are part of the process. Yeah. Okay. So I want to thank you so much for coming on, and thank you everybody, and thank you for this good show. And we're gonna keep the spotlight on this, um, and to somehow let's crack it. Let's crack it without a doubt. Okay. And remember to share this video and to like the YouTube channel as well, Silver TV. Look out for my show with Elaine Smith from the 291 Club that is going on this Friday in Hackney, 291 Mare Street, and also looking forward to the Black and Dread show and with Angela Marr and all different persons. I want to display the splendor for people. I want to show that there's greatness amongst us, without a doubt. All right? So thank you very much and have a smashing and good night. Peace out. Thanks. Thank you.